So we had about 2 days and one night to spend in San Francisco. We took a cruise out of there. And so, because of flight times and vacation time and all that fun stuff, we didn't have a whole lot of time to do everything. But this is what we did get up to. So, our first stop of the day, right after getting off the boat and getting the car, I shouldn't say boat, it was a ship. We headed straight to the park that you can see the Painted Ladies, which are the super famous homes that you see on Full and Fuller House. I loved the fact that our GPS even showed it as the Painted Ladies. You could put it in as the Painted Ladies. So that really made it kind of special to know that it is that popular, and I wasn't so crazy for wanting to see it. We then went over the Golden Gate Bridge. I am so happy that when we actually took the ship out a week or 10 days before this, it was a beautiful day. You could completely see the bridge because, as you're going to see from the photos of this day, super foggy around the bridge. You can't even see it. We're going to drive back and forth over it a few times throughout the course of us being here. And you can't see it at all. So at least we got to see it the day we left. So you can't see it in the background there at all. But anyway, once we went over the bridge, all of this was set up there. It's really beautiful. Lots of information, dedications to some of the armed forces and the Navy and everything that you just saw there. They've got plaques up, miscellaneous things that you're going to see in the area. From this little scenic pull-off, we were heading elsewhere to do another scenic pull-off and found Fort Baker. So we actually went under. You can kind of see the bridge above us there. So we went under to check out what was going on down here. We got lucky enough to actually see, there it is. The Coast Guard was heading out to escort one of the ships out from the pier. So it was actually kind of cool to see that going, because just over a week prior, they were taking us out underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. So we're just heading up here for a scenic lookout. Tons of signs for it. As you can see, fog everywhere. So we made the best of the day. We read all the information that we could see. There's the bridge. Not that you can see it. Not that we could see it. I don't know if anybody could see it. But we can say that we were there, and it's in the background a little bit. So we did try. But you can tell that on a good day, it would be very beautiful to be heading up there and doing that scenic drive. So heading into Fisherman's Wharf, we couldn't do too much walking during our vacation. Just over a week we were gone. Actually injured my hip somewhat quite badly, and so walking for hours and hours just wasn't going to be in the cards. So we did the best we could. Walked along the water, saw some beautiful ships here. We, of course, went to Ghirardelli, checked out the chocolate that they had. And this is us heading back down. So if you head up to Ghirardelli Square, there's a couple shops up there you're going to want to check out. There's restaurants. There's, of course, the actual store itself. And there's washrooms. There are washrooms at the top of the stairs off to the left, which we made good use of. So if you're out and about in that area, that's at least one public washroom I could tell you about. And then, of course, you were trying to cram everything in our one night, 2 days. But of course we needed to hit the cable cars. So once we kind of did our loop of Ghirardelli Square and then back down, we headed out on the cable car, because what else are you going to do as a tourist for your first time here?
like that. Yeah.
So really quick, right here is Lombard Street, and I'll come back to that story in 2 seconds. When it comes to doing the cable car, you can get a one-way pass, which is what we did, or you can get one that you can hop on and off. So they go to a variety of places that you can check out throughout the day. I cannot stress enough how steep these hills are. It's one of those, you got to see it to believe it. You're like holding on for dear life so you're not falling into the person in front of you or beside you. So check out the maps before you go and see if there are stops you want to make, like the Cable Car Museum. This is one of the spots that they stopped at, so you can get out and check that out for the day. And then what you would do is just get back on when you're ready. So you can hop on and off or do the one way, which is what we did. So this is actually getting us to the end of our route. So we took it all the way to the end of the street, got out, walked around, shopped around, bought some new shoes. And then we were trying to get back with hundreds of other people, and a cable car broke down. And the problem is, when a cable car breaks down, most of the cable cars are on the same track. So when that sucker broke down, nothing else could leave the bottom where we were dropped off. And it's a main hub, so there was like 4 down there all stuck, couldn't go anywhere because they kind of go in a loop. So what they did was they let anybody with a cable car pass onto those cable cars that you saw, different pricing, different route, different everything. But you could get on that. You just had to flash your pass, but then you didn't have to pay, and they didn't take your pass from you because it's not our fault that it broke down and there were hundreds of us stuck. So we actually got to take both, which is really cute. Anyway, this is just after lunch here. Got our chowder in a bread bowl, and it was delicious, and I was exhausted and in so much pain. I felt so elated to sit down and just eat. And we happened to be there during a weekend with live music, so we had a beautiful band playing in the background for us. I loved it. All right, Lombard Street. So we drove past this earlier when we were on the cable car thing. Now we're physically driving it ourselves, which is apparently quite difficult. My husband did the driving, don't worry. I was videotaping, but definitely not behind the wheel. And we got lucky. There was nobody in front of us, nobody behind us, but he had to go so slow because the turns are such like sharp S-bend turns the whole way down. If you get a chance to drive it or walk it, go for it. It is one way when you're driving though, so if you're at the bottom of it, you do have to loop yourself back up. And even the GPS knows exactly how that street looks. So we headed out to, I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to say Muir Woods. Apparently it's known for super tall, really old redwood trees. What we didn't know, and what I want all of you to know, we did not make it to Alcatraz because it booked up weeks in advance. We figured we'd be fine once we got here before our cruise, to kind of check the weather and see when would be best to book when we got off the cruise. It was booked 3 weeks in advance after we got off the cruise. We had no idea that there would be no chance for Alcatraz. And I bring that up because now here at Muir Woods, the issue that we didn't know, parking here also books up. When we were here, we didn't realize we had to pre-book parking. We've never been to a national park that you'd have to pre-book parking. And so we're seeing these signs and we're like, we better check. Anyway, it was booked up into the following week. So before you head to these touristy destinations, book in advance. Even if it's 2-3 weeks in advance, book it. We thought we would be fine a day in advance or so for Alcatraz. Had no idea we had to book parking for Muir Woods. Completely my fault. I did not even look. I figured, yes, we'd be paying for parking, but not booking like 2 weeks in advance kind of thing. So we just followed the road. We went there, but instead of parking in any of the lots, because we couldn't get out and walk any of the beautiful trails that we had heard of. But we just drove the roads that were in there. Like, they were complete public roads. I say roads, there was one went both directions, but there's one. But we just took photos from the vehicle, or we'd get out like on the shoulder to get a really nice photo. But like we couldn't get out and hike and do all of that stuff that it's known for, that people want to go there for. So in advance, book when you can. But what we did get to see was really beautiful. So our time seeing the little bits of San Francisco that we could see was actually just on the end of us doing an Alaskan cruise out of there. And so it was really nice to still just have a scenery and nature type trip after we got off the cruise, because that's what we had for 10 days was just beautiful nature photos, and it was wonderful. We hope to make it back one day and spend more time in San Francisco.